Julius Migoso Gamba, that is the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Education, has provided key clarifications on the boarding fees policy for high schools while launching the new technical and vocational education and training, that is TVET policy in Kiambu County. Speaking at the official launch of the national TVET policy in Kiambu, the CS reaffirmed the government's commitment to accessible and affordable secondary education. He made clear that public day secondary schools remain fully covered under the government's capitation regime, and unauthorized extra fees, including hidden boarding surcharges in public schools, will not be tolerated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we mark a major milestone in the history of Kenya's education and skills development journey. We gather for the launch of the dual training policy, a policy that speaks directly to the hopes of our young people and the promises that we have made to future generations. We gather not just to launch a policy document, but to celebrate a powerful idea that learning thrives where theory meets practice, where classrooms meet workplaces, where young people gain not only knowledge, but hands-on experience, confidence, and pathways to meaningful employment. That's why when we did the survey, I think 61% were of the opinion that the dual training policy increases chances in employment. Kenya is a youthful nation. More than 70% of our citizens are below the age of 35. This is not simply a demographic fact, but is also a national treasure. Our young people stand ready to imagine, to create, and to build. Our young people do not ask for charity, they ask for opportunity. And as a government, our duty is clear. We must equip our youth with skills. As you may already know, we provide free compulsory basic education in line with Article 53 of our Constitution. The current education reform process that is geared towards the competency-based education will not change this fact. The approved rates of capitation remain in place. That's 1,420 per year. The government has placed TVET at the center of our development agenda to expand opportunity, drive industrial growth, and empower our youth with skills, dignity, and a future they can build with their own hands and minds. Just a week ago, the Higher Education Loans Board released 441 million for upkeep loans to 54,204 students enrolled in TVET colleges. So far, more than 126.
Now, the government has pledged to protect Kenyans living in Tanzania following the post-election unrest in the country. Speaking during his official inauguration as a member of and ambassador of the Kenya Scouts Association Interior Ministry Principal Secretary, that is Raymond Domolo, said that the Ministry of Interior is already working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through the Kenyan Embassy in Tanzania to ensure the safety of all Kenyans residing there. Omolo also assured that his ministry will cooperate with the family of the late John Okoth Ogutu, a Kenyan national who was shot dead during the election violence in Tanzania.
Any cause for alarm or any reason for any Kenyan in Tanzania or anywhere else to worry about their safety. What we continue to encourage everybody, like we do in this country, is that all of us, the countries, have our rule of law, and there is a respect for rule of law. Let's, whatever it is, if there are any issues, we confine ourselves to what the law allows us to do. In that way, there is no reason for anyone to be worried about it. Yes, I know there's an unfortunate case of one Kenyan who is a teacher who in the process of all that commotion lost his life. I have been in touch with my colleague in charge of foreign affairs, and there's already the contact that has been created with the embassy in Dar es Salaam. So what I would urge the family is that we are doing what it takes to be able to make the necessary arrangements for making sure that that particular case is handled in a manner that is respectful. And we will be reaching out to the family, and as I've indicated, we have our Ministry of Foreign Affairs that has that responsibility. So it's just to give them the assurance that we are working on it to be able to sort or resolve the issue.
Initiative of making our environment better.
Right, moving on, the women's movement in the country has called on political parties to ensure meaningful inclusion of grassroots women in party structures and in coalitions negotiations, especially as the nation heads towards the 2027 general elections. Leaders of the Mama Kenya movement stated that women are constituted a large percentage of those who registered as voters in 2022, making their participation and influence both legitimate and significant. They also announced plans to launch a nationwide civic education campaign aimed at promoting voter registration while encouraging peace and development across the country.
Women constitute a significant proportion of Kenya's population and electorate, representing over 49% of represented voters in 2022 general election. Their participation is critical to the legitimacy, inclusivity and effectiveness of governance.
Kama Mama Kenya hatuna mipaka, na ukiangalia hapa kuna wamama wa kila chama tumekuna nao. Tumekuja pamoja, Waislamu, Wakristo, wa vyama vyote. Lengo letu ni kuhakikisha kuna mabadiliko na nafasi ya mama inatambulika katika maendeleo.
Right, now let's talk matters education. In Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is KUPPET, Embu County branch, has petitioned the government to convert junior secondary intern teachers into permanent and pensionable terms before schools open for next year's school calendar. Led by branch executive secretary, that is Jacob Karura, the officials said the 20,000 intern teachers contracted by the Teachers Service Commission for 1 year to bridge the staffing gap following introduction of competency-based education, that is CBE, had served diligently and deserved to be converted into permanent employment.
We have about 20,000 teachers who are serving on intern basis. We demand that they be confirmed before hiring the next cohorts of the intern teachers. Our fear is they may not be confirmed at the right time. We are demanding that they be confirmed so that when we open on first term 2026, they will be made permanent and pensionable. We are aware that teachers are being migrated to SHA comprehensive. We are demanding that in documents so that we can see, internalize the pros and the cons of the medical scheme. And we are not relenting on this one. We are saying it should be done because when teachers were told that they will be migrated to SHA, there was no public participation which took place.
Kwa arimu mandikitwe na contract aria maretwo ati intern teachers, andu aya ni mathire teaching practice na makirikia internship ya video. Koguo tha ino kama bati gukorwo mayandike ni thirikari na tukauria thirikari to ni twese ni makwandika arimu January mbere ya mandike arimu ageni mambe makonfirm andu aya ma internship na macoke mongerere arimu wengi iguru riacio. Tugacoka tukauga uvoro wa medical scheme arimu tuyathiniku miaka mingi twi under AON Minet na tukauga ni wega nundu nituravirwa SHA comprehensive no aturi atirire ni tuvewe details cia.
Right, I do apologize for that language barrier right there. Moving on, teachers in Murang'a County has staged protest in Gatanga constituency demanding the immediate confirmation of 20,000 junior secondary school interns to permanent and pensionable terms. The teachers who were recruited in November and posted in January on a year internship with a monthly pay of 17,000 say the low pay and lack of medical cover have caused stress, depression and domestic challenges. They also want the Teacher Service Commission to abolish internship program and confirm them on permanent basis. This comes as Treasury CS John Badi claims that the government will allocate 54 billion to confirm the teachers in January.
Psychologically, we are not able to deliver in classes because we are not even able to meet our demands even from our homes. Our wives are demanding for us to perform, but we are unable to do so.
As intern teachers, we stand here with a lot of stress. We stand here with a lot of depression, more so with a lot of anxiety. Kwa nini? Maana tumeweka kwa giza. Hatujui kesho yetu itakuwa aje. As intern teachers, we are suffering.
Na la kusisitizia ni kwa walimu hapa ni walimu wa kisayansi. Hawana allowances. Ninasikitika kwa mwalimu wa kisayansi kuna risks ambazo anapitia. Na mwalimu huyu hana medical cover yenye ko sustainable. Ni kuonyesha kuwa serikali ni kama haimtambii mwalimu kabisa.
We can even imagine a 17,000 Kenya shillings in Nairobi. No commuter allowances, no benefits, especially the medical allowances. For example, a female teacher. You are told you are being paid 17,000 and most of the female teachers, some get pregnant during the course. How are you supposed to take care of the babies? How are you supposed to give birth?
All right, now let's talk about as politics. And Labour Party leader and one of the opposition principals, Kalonzo Musyoka, earlier yesterday led a delegation of Kamba community elders on a visit to Kisumu and later proceeded to Bondo, Siaya County to pay respects at the grave of the late Raila Odinga, who was the former prime minister. Now speaking to journalists, Kalonzo praised the late Raila, describing him as a steadfast Democrat who dedicated his life to fighting for good governance, justice and development, not only for Kenyans, but for the entire African continent.
Today I have come to mourn my late brother, Raila Amolo Odinga, with whom we went to the trenches to give this country a good, reputable, respectable, democratically oriented nation. The type of nation that young Kenyans have been looking forward to, and in fact have literally agitated. So I'm dressed this way literally to remember that I'm going to honor the father of Maandamano. We resisted, and Kenyans are still resisting bad governance. Kwa hivyo tumefurahi kabisa, tumeambiwa Kisumu dala. Tumekaribisha Kisumu. We pay a short courtesy call on Governor Peter Anyang' immediately from here, and I think the rest of us will be moving to Bondo. So, and then of course the members of parliament, the former members like Mheshimiwa Ezekiel Mweo, Mheshimiwa Patrice Ivuti, Mheshimiwa Ndoto is actually the chair of even the wing of Ngema upande of Mount Kenya South, literally, is here. And so we are very excited. I've just been talking to the Kamba local stations out there.
All right, moving on to some tragic story, and 2 people have died while 5 others are in critical condition in hospital after consuming suspected toxic illicit liquor in Gitana village that is in Igembe, North Meru County. It is reported that one of the deceased, who was the brewer of the liquor, allegedly laced the drink with poison before sharing it with his companions. Meru County Commissioner Jacob Boma has issued a stern warning to the area chief, who is accused of taking bribes and turning a blind eye to the illegal brewing and consumption of illicit alcohol in the area.
Na hii fombe ni wakubwa wetu ndio wanaleta fombe kwa sababu ya kukula ongo. Sasa tunasema hivi, wakuu wetu wakubwa wakuja watuangalilie Gitana kwa sababu tunaona tunaisa kabisa.
Mtu ameajiriwa anapewa shilingi 20, hata nilisikia si hata 200 yote, hata ukimpea 20 anakuambia endelea. Na tumekuja kugundua viongozi wetu, hata ukikuja na sumu ile inaitwa hata ile ndawa ya kunyunyizia samba, ukiwaambia Ukimwambia sika 200 ni kunywa, anaweza kuambia kunywa, hiyo ni shida yako.
Kutoka leo tarehe 5 mwezi wa 11 watu wangitana tumeza.
Nasikitika ya kwamba badala ya kupambana na pombe imewachwa kupambana na watu. Komanda ya polisi, angalia moja kwa moja the police establishment ambayo iko within ni itoke hapa, mtafute askari mpatie watu ambao wanaweza kusaidia nani? Kusaidia wananchi. Na wale ambao tunasikia wanataja sijui machifu, sijui watu gani ambao wanahusika na hivi vitu, wanaokota pesa. Mimi nawahakikishia kwamba wao sasa tutawapa kibali cha kuja wakote hizo pesa, lakini bila nguo ya serikali. Alafu tutafute watu ambao wanaweza kufanyia wananchi.
Now, Kwale Governor Fatuma Achani has officially launched the construction of a new emergency service unit at Msambweni Referral Hospital. Speaking during the groundbreaking ceremony, Governor Achani said administration remains committed to strengthening and upgrading the health sector to ensure that residents receive quality and timely health care, especially in emergency situations. Now, she added that the new facility that is in the county will be equipped with the modern medical equipment, intensive care wards and dedicated emergency treatment areas for both children and adults.
Sehemu mpya, maternity mpya. Sasa hii maternity yetu ya zamani tunaenda kuibomoa, kuirekebisha ili tuwe na mahali pazuri nadhifu ambapo kesi zetu za emergency zinaweza kupokelewa pale na zikafanywa vizuri. Na sehemu ile itaweza kuaccess kutoka hapa. Hii mijengo ya zamani ambayo iko hapa tunaenda kuiondoa.
There are so many challenges with emergency medicine in terms of access, equipment, and we are happy with this leadership that we are able to provide those equipment and expansion of the emergency department and also the training of the staff. So we will continue with that partnership and we are hoping to do even more for the county at large, not just at Msambweni, so that there is access in the county at large.
Na sio leo tu, shafungua ile ya watoto pale kwa nzima, watu wote wa Mombasa wote wanakuja hapa, kila kitu tunaleta miradi hiyo hapa. Kwa hivyo kwa sisi wananchi tunasema ni shukrani sana. Uende mama na hizi kazi zako, na hakika mpaka tukifika ile wakati tunataka tena tutakosa mali za kazi zako.
All right, now moving on. Residents of Mangu Ward, that is in Gatundu North in Kiambu County, woke up yesterday morning in shock and sadness after discovering that the newly constructed St. Francis ECDE Center had been vandalized. Now, during the overnight incident, vandals broke in and stole metal doors and window frames, then went on to demolish parts of the walls, leaving the facility in a deplorable state. The center, which consists of PP1 and PP2 classrooms, an office and toilets, is among the 312 ECDE centers built by Governor Kimani Wamatangi's administration since he assumed office. Angry residents condemned the act and called on the government to take swift action against those responsible for the destruction of public property. They also claimed that a local politician is suspected to have orchestrated the demolition to pave the way for another project, an allegation that has deeply angered the community.
Mimi katika hii asubuhi nimepigiwa simu tukakuja tukaona venye shule yetu imeharibika na tumepatwa na mshtuko sana. Juu tulikuwa tuna expect watoto wetu wakuwe kwa good environment na shule nzuri yenye Wamatangi alikuwa ametutengenezea. Hata kama tulikuwa tuna expect hii shule itabomolewa, lakini tulikuwa tumeambiwa hii ECD haitaguzwa. Kwa hivyo tu ningeomba kama kuko na hiyo mpango ya shule kubomolewa, wacha ifanywe na mpango yenye na tufuate protocol yenye inastahili. Tunaomba ili tuweze kupata amani katika hii area na tukatai maendeleo, lakini hata kama ni maendeleo itakuja, wacha tutumie protokoli yenye inastahili.
Hili darasa limejengwa kwa kutumia pesa ya umma, na ile pesa imetumika hapa, ukiona ni darasa mzuri, imetumia milioni 4,200,000. Kwa hivyo ni vibaya sana wakati vijana wanatumiwa usiku wakuja waharibu pesa ya umma, na ndio maana tunasema wakipatikana wachukuliwe hatua na hatua kali, ndio wasifanye hii kazi tena, na siasa ya upuzi hatuitaki Gatundu North.
Badala ya kubomoa yenye iko, tunafaa kujenga zingine, kutumia zile mashamba ziko ama kununua shamba zingine tunajenga badala ya kubomoa. Hii shule haijasomewa miezi 3, imebomolewa kama bado ni mpya.
Now, governors have unanimously agreed to push for the increased investment in the health sector in SHA, while calling for a meeting with President William Ruto soon to assess the exit of investors from the sector. Now, they emphasized that the residents of the county are greatly affected, noting that many Kenyans rely on county-level healthcare services for their medical needs.
Health SHA, that is under the UC, Universal Health Coverage. We really need to understand in details what is it that there is a year after this program was launched. Is it working? If not, what needs to be done? Are there challenges that we can be able to address both at the Council of Governors and as the governors? And what needs to be done at the highest level, that is the policy making level?
The issue of locking out our staff from SHA claims by 9th. Today is 5th. I can guarantee you by 9th we will not have gotten our disbursement. Our disbursement will come after 9th. By the time we remit, it will be around 17th. We will not remit less money for SHA simply because the date passed. There's national government employees. Are they also being locked out? Of course. So what arrangement they mean? This is blunted discrimination.
Now, Bungoma County governor, that is Kenneth Lusaka, has issued a stern warning to county government employees against engaging in early political activities, urging them instead to focus on the constitutional duties assigned to them. Speaking after signing appointments for ministers and other leaders, Governor Lusaka expressed concerns that some officials have already begun premature campaigning before the appropriate time. He encouraged employees to carry out their responsibilities diligently and to maintain good relations between the leaders and the departments as a key approach to promoting development.
Politics is setting in. And listen to my advice. Some people who never listened are now calling me to say, boss, kama tuliteleza mahali, things are not going the way we expected. Be very careful. Be very careful now. Many will be called, but few will be chosen. People will come around now to entice you. Let's go. I know some of you are already beginning to panic. So what happens when Governor Lusaka goes? You are trying to secure your next position by forgetting what you are supposed to deliver now. You will miss both. I'm telling you for a fact. You will miss both. Just be patient. There is still time. Learn from me. I came here to campaign when we had 4 months to go. 4 months. And I became the governor. Today I'm addressing you as a governor. Because I knew when to engage with gear, when to move. You see, when we have reads, you know reads, please build teams in your department. I can assure you for free, you cannot succeed alone.
So Your Excellency asked that this is for the top management, but the lower cadre across the departments, they be taken to, if it's Mabanga FTC, we invite the specialists from various KST departments that trained from work here. That way, the cost effectiveness is cheaper, and the cost of transporting to school is cheaper. Because I remember I was employing the new staff, I had to ferry 64 people to KST by Rico in one go. They have to pay them per diem and they feed them for that 1 full week. It wasn't easy, but when you say we are taking people with specific job groups in Mabang for training from Monday to Friday, it will be cheaper.
Now, Brighter Monday, Kenya, in partnership with MasterCard, has launched a new report aimed at addressing youth unemployment and promoting gender equality. Brian Mulama said the research findings will help bridge the employment gap, while Sarah Ndego emphasized that inclusion is a key driver to development. Nancy Chebet from the Department of Gender Affairs stated that the report supports government efforts to expand equal opportunities for all.
The reason why this study was done, it recognizes that 75% of the population is under 35. Yet, unemployment still stands at 35%, triple the national average, mainly in the counties that we were able to look at it. Between 2022 and 2025, we noticed that 90% of new jobs that were created were in the informal sector. We still call it the informal sector, but the truth is a big population of those who are in that sector serve as citizens, but also contribute to the larger economy. Within this stable sector, you will realize that there is urgent need for formalizing and making sure that there are stable employment pathways. Employers are shifting towards digital-first hiring and skills-based recruitment. But the report indicates that there is a mismatch between what the graduates come with from college and what the human experts, the human resource experts will want within the job market. So in this response, Brighter Monday through Gen Z, Generation Kazi, the Young Africa Works commissioned this study just to find out what are the inclusive employment strategies that are needed to solve some of these particular issues that we are speaking to. When you look at the finding, it indicates that youth make out 80% of Kenya's labor force entrants, but face the highest unemployment and the employment rates. A lot of us, when we talk about recruitment, that percent of entry point is young people. But the challenge is, again, here is where we have a lot of hurdles. Digital transformation is reshaping work, yet many young people lack access to these devices, lack access to connectivity, lack access to digital skills. Employers are hiring differently, majority prioritizing skills, adaptability, online presence over formal.
Now, police at the Kabete Sub-County headquarters have arrested a 41-year-old woman named Miringina Maina from Gakinduri village, that is in Chura, in connection with the murder of her 11-year-old daughter Irene Waithera. It is alleged that the suspect strangled her daughter using a belt. Neighbors have expressed concerns that the killing may be linked to a certain religious beliefs. Peter Kimotho, the Kabete Sub-County Police Commander, has confirmed the incident, saying the suspect is in custody, awaiting court while investigations continue.
Naitishwa damu. Lakini sasa kwa tangu tuliona 2008 na tukaendelea vizuri sana. Sasa tangu 2019 alitoka kwa hiyo kanisa tulikuwa tumefanyia doa, akaenda kwa hiyo kanisa. Ndio sasa hii mambo ilianza kubadilika.
Hiyo kanisa ichunguzwe sana, sababu alikuwa akiambiwa ati akifanya hiyo kitendo atakuwa queen wa hiyo kanisa.
Tungetaka iwekwe wazi ndio na sisi tujue na tujue ni watu aina gani tunaishi nao hapa.
Hii ni jambo ambaye imetupata katika hali ambayo ni ya kutatanisha, na tunaomba wananchi ama wale ambao ni wahusika, wale ambao wako pale, tusiongee mengi kuhusu hii maneno kwa sababu.
Right, it is exactly 31 minutes past the top of the hour. We are due for a short breather here on the Drift, but when we come back, we tell you what exactly the newspapers are saying. Don't go too far. All right. That's what's up on the Daily Nation. Of course, matters to do with Mudavadi and, saying that he will ensure that the Kenyans abroad, of course, especially Kenyans in Tanzania, are safe, deserve, of course, he said that they deserve protection, of course. He said that they will be having, an tete-a-tete with the Tanzanian government to see that to assure their safety of the Kenyans in Tanzania. All right. Now, 1998 embassy bombing victims face fresh delay in pay ruling. That's a story on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the corridors of justice in the Daily Nation. Now, Kidero acquitted 213 million Kenya shillings corruption charge, and of course, court rules that former Nairobi governor, that is Kidero, and 5 others have no case to answer in trial that has taken more than 5 years. That's a story on page 14 of the Daily Nation this particular morning. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper this morning, the 7th day of November 2025. All right. Now, top story of the boldest newspaper, as they say, cells of death. That's the title of the Standard newspaper. And of course, there are pictures there of, slain individuals led by the late, the recent one, that is Albert Ojwang, who was found dead in Central Police Station just some few months ago. And of course, there are others who have died in police cells, rather in the custody of police. All right. Now, the status says at least 17 Kenyans have died in police custody in less than 2 years, exposing the grim reality of torture, cover-ups, and systematic neglect inside the country's police cells. Now, the Independent Medical Legal Unit paints a chilling picture of suspects who enter police custody alive and never make it out across the country. The pattern is disturbingly similar. Unexplained deaths, hastily written police reports, and families left searching for truth after that never comes actually. Now, 17 is the number of Kenyans who have died in police custody, leaving families searching for answers from likely perpetrators. And of course, there is a picture there of the man who actually, issued when Albert Ojwang was actually found murdered, or rather when he was went for by the DCI officers, the man who filed the case, who appears to be also in the police, departments. And of course, this picture is actually there. And of course, the Douglas Kanja, who is the IG. All right. And of course, the picture of the then DIG of the police. Now, let's take a look on that particular story on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. Now, Kenyan police cells have become death chambers. This indictment from the Independent Medical Legal Unit is a grim irony that every cell meant to be safe, or the safest points in the justice chain, have turned into a suspect's worst nightmare. Now, INLU, a human rights organization dedicated to exposing police brutality, reports that at least 17 people have died in custody between 2024 and today. Now, the revelation lays bare shocking details of how Kenyans is in sound health walk into police hands alive but never walk out. In all these cases, not a single police officer has been arrested, suspended, or even publicly reprimanded. Now, the 17 deaths documented by INLU occurred in police stations, remand facilities, and prisons across at least 10 counties, including Nairobi, Nakuru, Murang'a, Siaya, Mombasa, Kakamega, and Busia. And according to INLU, post-mortem examinations conducted by its network of pathologists revealed the harrowing patterns of injury and neglect. All right, now for ages, the Kenyan seems to have openly tolerated this brutality while shunning accountability and the rule of law. This, as families of victims caught in the fray agonize and mourn helplessly as the state looks away. Right, and it's quite unfortunate, you know, to work in a police cell and never come out alive. You know, the people who we trust with our safeties are actually, you know, we can't trust them no more. Right, quite unfortunate. And of course, we hope that, you know, justice will be served to the families who lost their kins under the custody of police across the country. It is 17 of them since last year, 2024, to this particular year, 2025. 17 people actually have died in the hands of police, or rather in police custody. All right. Now moving on to other stories making headlines on the Standard newspaper. Audit that 6,000 schools have fewer than 100 students, 10 have none. Of course, that's a story on matters education. Of course, there is a picture there of the Education Cabinet Secretary, that is Julius Migos Ogamba, you know, shedding light on that particular story. Now, let's take a look on the 10 schools actually that have been closed in the secondary schools closed after verification found no enrolled learners. Now, in Nyandarua County, there is a school called Kiria Secondary School. In that particular school, there are no learners. So the school has actually been shut down, and Dr. Machege Moheto, that is in Migori County, Ragia Forest High, that is in Kiambu, Mugwandi Mixed, that is in Kirinyaga, Friends Bulovi, that is in Kakamega, and Loiwat High, that is in Baringo County, and Ngamba Secondary, that is in Moranga County, and Sintakara Secondary, that is in Narok, Maji Mazuri Mixed in Baringo, and FR Leo Staples Girls, that is in West Pokot. Those are some of the schools that have been closed after the ministry found that the schools have actually no learners in those particular schools. And of course, that the government has actually been distributing capitation. And one will wonder if those particular schools actually have had teachers, and of course, or that they had teachers, or, you know, and how that actually happened, and for how long that they have been receiving capitation, right? Moving on, a woman has been charged in trafficking, or with trafficking 11 men to Russia. Now, a new case at the Kahawa Law Courts has exposed just how deep the problem of trafficking Kenyans to Russia. Mewan Edna Kendi was arraigned on October 3rd, where she was charged with trafficking 11 Kenyans to the country that she waged war against its neighbor Ukraine. Corporal Batula said the Transitional Organized Crime Unit and Directorate of Criminal Investigation said the unit received 3 men on September 28th who had just returned into the country from Russia. Now, the detectives arrested Kendi as she attended a private matter at the Kasarani police station on September 30th. Now, they accompanied her to an apartment at Safari Park Gardens, where they found some items, including documents of people who they believe had already left the country for Russia. And according to the detectives, the victims had been duped that they were going to work elsewhere, only to end up in front lines of the Russia-Ukraine war. The officer said the testimony of the 3 victims was that Kendi had received money from them in order to facilitate their recruitment for the jobs. Right? That's a woman charged with trafficking men, or rather 11 men actually, to Russia. That's what's up on Matters Corridors of Justice on the Standard newspaper this morning. Of course, government moves to restore learning in public universities as matters education, and storm of a plan to toll Riloni Mau Summit Highway. That's on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. Now we're taking a short breather here on the program, but when we come back, we are going to discuss more about, you know, poets. How do these people actually juggle with words and, you know, actually make a story, or rather deliver a story from them? That's what's coming up after the break. Don't go too far.